everybody, and welcome to Camera Culture, a series from Well FM that puts the diverse creators of the NFT photography movement into focus. I am your host, Decryptolorian, and my very, very special guest today is Joanne Enders. Joanne is an artist and photographer who loves textures, colors, and views that make her heart pound. She focuses on the little things in life that and lives for those moments that catch attention, quicken breath, and give goosebumps. Welcome, Joanne, to the show. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. It's actually a nice day. It's been rainy for the past couple weeks, but yeah, it's actually nice today, so I'm pretty
It
good.
is. It's beautiful out.
Oh man, that it's always nice to have a day like today. We're excited to have you on the show. Why don't you give us a little bit of information about yourself before we get started with some questions?
An open-ended question, huh? I guess I've always been a searcher, so I'm always looking for things that interest me, and I'm always trying to find something, that kind of I want to capture and makes me inspired to create. And that's always been a lot of fun. And I've been creating art for 30, 40, almost 50 years. I just had my birthday. So, yeah, it's been a long time of creating art since I was around 3 years old. And it was a distraction my grandparents provided to me so that I would uh, kind of maintain my anxiety. And it's worked very well all these years.
Wow. Wow, for this many years. So what? I guess I would like to ask what interests you the most about doing art or photography.
I just enjoy the creative nature about it, taking something and making something new. I often create things based on dreams that I have. So it could be anything, and it's usually pretty wild from my dreams, but it forces me to go out and focus on something other than the things that distress me, and that includes photography. So it's also a way of hiding. When you go out and you have a camera, you can hide behind it, and people don't focus on you so much as they do the camera and either staying out of the way or getting into it. So
That's fantastic. I love that you mentioned dreams. So I too love to create stuff from dreams as well. I gotta know, and sorry, this is I usually get a little selfish on these things, question wise, but I got like, what is? Can you give us like one of the dreams that you created art from? In a nutshell.
Um, well, recently I've been creating some AI art and having fun with it. And I had a dream about uh, all the AI art just kind of ripped apart into pieces. And I didn't do it. It just kind of naturally did it. And it was all there. And I started grabbing the pieces out of the air and kind of pasting them, Mod Podging them onto canvases and using several different mediums to pull it all together and make it something new. So of course, when I woke up, I found the pieces that I had been dreaming about, and I had them printed, and now I'm working on some physical art that is mimicking in a way. It never comes out the way my dream is, because God forbid it just float in the air and let me grab things, right? But overall, it's turning out pretty cool. It'll be a
Oh
lot of fun.
man, I can't. I would love to see that. I think that is so cool. That's the first thing I did when I found Mid Journey was I started typing in, because I've had like I always wanted to write books from my dreams,
Mhm.
because they were very vivid, and I have like this like five or six of them that kind of follow me around, throughout the years, from when I was a kid and then onward. But um, that's the first thing I did was start to type the keywords to try to get a visual that would capture those certain moments in the dreams. Which that is, I mean, that's so cool and fascinating. Sorry, a little bit of a rabbit hole, but that is really really cool. Uh, so man, you've been doing this so long, and trying different mediums. Can you go over? I mean, obviously you do photography, and some different types of art. But yeah, maybe give us a rundown of the different types of art you've done over the years.
Oh gosh, that runs the gamut. It could be anything. I oil paint. I have different mixed media paints. I do acrylic. I've done pottery, and I have a pottery wheel. Uh, Travel photography, obviously, because I enjoy traveling, and you may as well capture it when you've got it right. Um, Gosh, I crochet, I can knit, I could do just about anything. My grandparents were very, artistic. My grandmother was a builder. She would build anything. She'd draw her little picture, and she'd go in the basement and create anything from, picnic tables to furniture of any kind. And my grandfather was a tool and die operator, but he drew and he created all kinds of different things. So um, my mom is the unique person in our family. She has no artistic skill whatsoever, and she's fine with that. And she's good that I've got all of it, and I do all of those things. And my children are all very artistic also. So it's a lot of fun. If it's been there, I've probably tried it because I am downright curious how everything works.
Oh, you know what? I resonate I resonate with that a lot because growing up, that's exactly what my mom did too. I mean, she did the same exact thing. She did basically everything. I grew up in the house and watched her do it, over the years of different things, and she had that adventurous spirit, and I love that about you. You're not afraid to try different things. I can see that, from what you're telling me. I mean, and this is a great. I'm gonna put some art from your website as we talk. But yeah, you're not afraid to try it, and I think that's how did you discover NFTs, and what was your first thoughts? Because you've been doing all this stuff. I imagine, and I'm not going to answer it for you, but I imagine it was pretty exciting.
Well, originally I found NFTs in my real life job. I am a risk person, so I'm somebody who's always looking for corporate risks and the risks that come to a company in the future. So you're always looking ahead to the future, and a lot of the things related to that right now and 3-4 years ago is cyber, and that just keeps increasing in risk value. And they kept talking about NFTs, and after a little while, you start wondering, what are these NFTs, and what does it mean, and how can it affect the company that I'm working for? So I started researching into it, and I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. I could use this like in real life, in my enjoyment time and with my passions. And I started researching it and looking into what it is a couple of years ago. And then about a year ago, I thought I should try to, move some of my art into the NFT world and see if I can merge some of my photography, which I had already done, more in a digital sense, taking it and turning into something digital that I could, move things around and make them more uh, like what I would see in my dreams instead of just what I captured out in the world. And then turning them into NFTs was a lot of fun. So, and the community was an amazing catch from my perspective. I've been able to meet so many wonderful people and really grow my artistic ability based on, some of the things that they teach me, and I'm learning every day from all of this community. Uh, they're just so remarkable.
Wow, that's awesome. So I got it. You mentioned it. I have to explore this a little bit, but so you take your photography and you go into digitally manipulate it.
Mhm.
When did you start doing that?
Um, Probably about 10 years ago.
Wow. And do you use Photoshop or something different?
I use Affinity Photo, and there's Affinity Designer. I have several different programs. I have Procreate that I play with it. I don't use Photoshop because I have an aversion to paying for something repeatedly that I feel like I've purchased once. So I don't use Photoshop because it makes me angry.
Very fair, very fair.
I know how, but I don't enjoy it. So
Absolutely. So talk to me a little bit about how you manipulate it, because that's something that I personally love to do a lot. And when I make my art, same thing. What are the types of things that you do with when you start to manipulate your photography?
well, there's all kinds of different ways of doing it. Often I use filters and then I will start pulling the pieces apart. So, I like to draw on my iPad quite a bit. So I will pull the pieces and, stretch it and um, make it a little unrecognizable, so to speak. And, change the colors and sometimes I do hand drawing over the top of it and create layers and layers and layers. So it's just something entirely different, which I really enjoy.
Do you find it like a meditation?
Yeah, I get lost in it quite often. It frustrates my family because I will lose track of time and um, they can have whole conversations with me where I respond and really have no idea what I have agreed to a lot of the time. Or, it does happen.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, we do the same thing. Yeah, those conversations are great until you you gotta
Yeah,
you gotta recall what you signed up for.
exactly. My husband will say, "Well, we just talked about this." And I'm always like, "Maybe you should refresh my memory. What did I agree to do here? Where are we going? What's happening?"
Oh, that's great. Yeah, sometimes there'll be like we put on the TV at night and just watch a bunch of stuff, and I'll be sitting there doing that like in a meditative trance and getting really into the art, and then yeah, I don't even know what happened in the show. I mean, I kind of have an idea, but yeah, no idea. And then of course, my wife's over there. She's talking to me about something, and yeah, well, I guess I shouldn't even admit that, but
Well, never tell.
right, no, nobody's gonna know. She doesn't watch these, so that's good. Yeah, it's quite the thing. I love that. Again, kind of selfish question, because that's something we share for sure, is that passion with the digital manipulation. But yeah, so you find out about NFTs. You said you worked for like a risk company. Obviously you probably thought that NFTs were kind of risky but intriguing. um Tell me how you got, like, what was your first thing you minted? How did you get started with it?
Well, the first thing I minted, gosh, I don't even remember. The one I remember most vividly was um, the dahlia I made. I decided that I would mint this dahlia and provide a copy to all the people who helped me to learn and grow within the space. So it was a lot of fun. And then I put it up for sale. Maybe the first thing I minted was that Grand Canyon piece on the screen right there on the left. I feel like that was the one. And it's just something from my travels that I saw out there. It was different. Um, Afterwards, after minting it, my hard drive got corrupt, so the file was junk. And it was a really frustrating thing, and it taught me a good lesson to always back up on multiple drives and, you know, yeah.
Wow. So what a great piece. um and yeah, this is a fantastic shot. So what was your first thoughts? I mean, it sounds like you had help. When was this around? When did you just jump into the space?
Well, I was out here in the November timeframe, and I started, poking around silently so people wouldn't see me, and they just didn't really notice me out there, and that's okay. And in February, I decided I would kinda take the leap, and I had whole 96 followers. I mean, I've had Twitter for a long time, since 2009, so it's been a very long time I've had Twitter, but it wasn't really a place that was a real positive place. It was mostly listening to people complain about stuff, and usually politics. And so finding the communities of, for photography and for art was just really amazing, and starting to listen to people and seeing um, how they helped each other, and they were so generous with, giving feedback or providing help and how to do different things in the spaces, and how to do different, pieces within the NFTs. It was just a really remarkable thing to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always refer to that as the secret sauce of this place. It's been about almost maybe over 3 years for me here.
Cool.
And that was this is exactly why I'm still here, is the community. And I'll always say that every time I do an interview. We kind of a lot of the folks have the same thing to say, basically, about the community, and really that's the energy comes from that. Feeds us, and I love that. And so you did you jump on to ETH first, or were you on Object and
I
Tezos?
was on ETH first. I actually tried OpenSea. Everybody, was like, OpenSea is the easiest way to go, and I it is my nemesis. I am not the biggest OpenSea fan. I don't find it to be a particularly easy platform to be on, and it made me irritated. So I started searching around and found Object eventually, which was great for playing and experimenting in different uh, things and what I wanted to do. I wanted to try different pieces of art. I wanted to see what the reactions to those would be. I wanted to share more than I would have ever been capable of in ETH. And not that I'm not going to use it. I probably won't use OpenSea, but uh, I will be very specific in the pieces I put forward in an ETH platform.
I love that. So yeah, so you started with OpenSea, um, and your experience. Yeah, it's you. I mean, you kind of hit on something that I discovered a while back. It's not the best, but it is fairly popular, which is tough. And then you discovered Object, and I know that you're pretty involved in the Tezos community. I'm just going to jump to there real quick. What do you like about it? Maybe you can explain that a little bit to the folks who are very ETH native and haven't really jumped over yet.
Well, I enjoy the fact that the gas prices in particular are so low that you can experiment with different things. And I'm, being a serial artist, or Steve Bennett would call it a lens-based artist, for which for me is my eyes are the lens that I'm seeing everything through. I enjoy experimenting, and I enjoy trying new things, and it can be all different kinds of art, from original real life pieces that I'm working on, or AI pieces, or digitally manipulated photographs, or sometimes it's photographs, and then it's a matter of, what do I want it to be? Do I want it to be color? Do I want it to be black and white? I want to see what people do with that and how they respond. And for me, that's the biggest joy of it, because I'm not really out there. Not that I don't want to make sales, because I am an avid collector, and I think I've invested everything I collect back into the communities of finding different artists and encouraging people. And I think that's probably the best thing about the Tezos community, is the encouragement, the camaraderie, the acceptance. No matter what you're doing, there's no real, you shouldn't be doing that. Plus the ease of hiding things that you don't want seen anymore. So if I decided one day I wanted to hide a few of my collections and make it very straightforward, I could do that. And for me, that makes it a really positive thing. I like being able to change. I am always changing and growing, and um, every day I figure every day I have a great opportunity to be the person that I really want to be, and that might be slightly different than it was in the past. So I
I
feel like Tezos does the same thing.
Yeah, and it kind of I feel you there, because it kind of takes off the chains, I guess, in a way, the artistic chains, and having the ability to mint whatever you want. And I don't know what it was, but I felt like when I jumped onto Object, I could really just release whatever I wanted, without any judgment, or it was that's the way it felt. I don't know why. Maybe it's the community there. I don't know. What do you think?
I think it's the community personally. Um, it, People very seldom say, "Why did you do that? Why are you doing this AI art?" Other than those who are very negative towards AI, but why are you changing your pictures? Well, they're not good enough the way they are. Well, sometimes the photographs aren't what I would share because I don't see it as being the right thing. It doesn't meet my expectations, and if I can digitally change that and make it something creatively that I find acceptable to me, then it's a really good thing. And not everybody sees things that way, but in the Tezos community, there's something for everybody. There's an artist, Bree, who's out there whose grandmother told her that's a lid for every pot, and that is right on target. There's something for everybody. It doesn't matter what you enjoy, what you don't enjoy. And if you find an artist who is capable of doing lots of different kinds of art and you can, resonate with some of that, I think that's a real win for just about anybody. It's a win for collectors and it's a win for the artist.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with that. Yeah, I mean, we, wow, there's so much I agree with 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 everything that you said, because honestly, I love that you're taking this. You're doing art how you want to do art, and AI isn't. It doesn't. It seems like you're open to a lot of things, and I think that's really good, in my opinion. And I know that some people will probably say, "Oh, geez, this isn't the way art should be." But what is art really? I mean, it's like it's whatever we want it to be. It's whatever we see, and just because there's a monetary value doesn't mean that art has to be a certain way. Um, so I think, and we do change from day to day. I mean, it's some days I want to do this type of stuff, and the next day I may see something new and shiny or have an idea and I want to do that. I mean, what's wrong with that? I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And yeah, I really respect you for going that route.
Well, if you're inspired by something, you should try it. What's the worst that can happen, right? You hate it and you move on, big deal, but you've probably still learned something. You've learned a new skill, or learned how to connect with different people that also do that kind of art, to ask them questions. There's so many benefits to trying new things, and I think people don't do themselves a good justice if they don't go out and try new things because they're afraid when you know eh, so somebody doesn't like it, big deal, do something else.
Yeah,
I've told my kids that since they were little. Today is the day you can be anything you want to be. Choose to be somebody different if you're not happy with who you are.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? Just because some crowd isn't really excited about this, maybe the right person hasn't seen it yet, right?
Mhm.
That's how I live my life too. Which is, I think it's a really good way, and I think it's a lot of people. Hopefully, they listen to this and they say, "Oh, well, you know what? That's kind of cool." And what you did here with the animation, I absolutely love this piece. It's
Thanks.
see, it's just like keeping an open mind. I mean, there's really no limitation to being creative, and it's really your vision, right? This is your vision. Um,
Absolutely. I dreamt about this, in my mind, I'm outside and there's fireflies flying around and it's all kind of cool. And when I saw this one, I thought, well, it'd be really neat if I could get some animation. So I learned a new skill. I learned how to create something, and it happened to turn out really well. And it was something I could share with people. So, I mean, how great is that? I learned something new. I had a good time with it. I had fun. I had some collectors who really loved the piece, and everybody wins.
Absolutely. Everybody wins. And honestly, I can see the little subtleties in your animation. So the leaves moving, sideways up. You have all, of course, all the fireflies blinking, and this beautiful light that's in the center that's going upwards. And I mean, this is fantastic.
Thanks.
And AI, I haven't really talked to anybody about AI, but I really do have a passion for it. I think it's really cool. Um, so, first thoughts when you learned about it, and what is your general idea behind it? Because I know there's a little bit of controversy about AI, and for me, I love it. Obviously, I make pieces from it, but some artists are like, right? What are your thoughts? I mean, you do a bit of everything, so I mean, you're a great person to ask.
I think of AI as just another tool. It's no different than using Photoshop or, any other program that you might use to manipulate your photography or your art. For me, it's something that you can play with and you can make it your own. And just because the computer is giving you a printout, you still have to think very thoroughly. Uh, you know, Word wise, you have to tell a story about it, right? So we're actually working in reverse when we're using AI. You're creating a story in your mind and you're getting the AI to produce that story for you. And then you can take it and you can make layers of it and make changes and improve it and make it your true story of what you want it to be. It's very much in reverse, right? You take a photograph and then you create a story around it, and how does that resonate with people or doesn't it? Who knows? Um, I guess in my mind, any kind of art that forces emotion of some kind for people is art worth seeing. So if you look at a piece of art and you think, and you just kind of walk away, to me, it probably wasn't a worthwhile piece of art. But if it's something that either creates anger or joy or whatever it might be, um, it's probably worth thinking about and something to explore further. And I think AI gives you that opportunity. You don't have to use it. You can do anything you want with it. You could play with it, and sometimes I do it just to inspire me. Something I want to create in a painting, and I have it in my mind and I know what I want to do. And I start writing the words down of all the things to put together to create a real life painting. And I just can't get it to do what I want. So I'll go to AI and I'll put the words in and manipulate it until I kind of have an idea of what I want to do for my painting. And it helps me break through that mental block. It's very similar to writing when you're stuck and you just can't think of what to say, right? And there's different activities you do to, get rid of that mental block. And I think of AI as kind of doing the same thing. And on the plus side, sometimes it gives you something that's just remarkable. And why not share that? I mean, it's so much fun.
Absolutely. It really is. And yeah, I think you hit it on the head. It really is just another tool in the tool belt. And we sound very similar. I was explaining this to somebody in our household about how yeah, I mean, it really is another tool. I mean, so is Photoshop, so is Illustrator, so is, and if you were working on a house, I mean, you would just pick up this tool chest and then you'd grab another tool, and absolutely inspiring. And I think that what I found interesting about it, it does force you to kind of think a little bit creatively as the person that's telling the AI to do something, right? You gotta come up with the keywords. I know I find myself spending hours and hours and hours just playing with it, similar to how we do the whole manipulating the photos and just sitting there and meditating. Sometimes it's just really cool to see what words you could pick and see what the computer is going to come up with, and then it creates this concept for you that you could work with. Yeah, I mean,
Yep.
wow. I mean, what a great tool.
It is. It is a great tool. And, sometimes, we have a lot of strife in the world today. And, sometimes it gets overwhelming. And really empathetic people, and I'm extremely empathetic, which is not always to my benefit. And I tend to take on a lot of negativity of other people, and it's overwhelming. Sometimes I take those feelings and I put them into the AI tool, and I also put them into my drawings and everything that I create, and just see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you're feeling a certain way, I've done that too. When you're feeling a certain way, sometimes it feels good to see that feeling, a visual of
Mhm.
that feeling. And yeah, I get that. I get that. Sometimes I go down a little bit of a darker road, but what can what can you create from that to make you feel better and get you back into that meditative space? I mean, that's really where I find myself when I mess with it. But
Right.
yeah, yeah. Oh, this is fantastic. I've been wanting to talk about AI for a while, so I'm really excited about it.
That I can
So
accommodate.
yeah, yeah. So your experience, so you're on different blockchains, and it's always curious to me what your thoughts were when you first started using the tools, right? Like the wallets and the MetaMasks and the whatever wallet that you're using. How did that experience feel to you at first? Good, bad, weird?
Well, the first time around, it was a challenge. I just couldn't I was missing some important information. It's like I'd gone from A to D and was missing B and C, and I couldn't quite figure it out. So I'd ask all these questions during, spaces, and eventually, when people were talking, I could put it together, but there wasn't a lot out there as far as, the specifics, and I think, that is normal when people are sharing processes, and, part of my job in risk is making sure that processes are able to be followed. So often, we're brushing our teeth and we've got the toothbrush and we've got the toothpaste, but we don't tell the person to put the toothpaste on the toothbrush, and they're like, "Okay, what am I doing with these things? And then you want me to rub this on my teeth. Okay, but how's it going to get clean, And you have to get all the steps in there. And I think often, especially with something as new as Web3, there's a lot of pieces missing because people are working through and they're working so quickly, and um, the whole space is moving so quickly all the time, that they forget all of these little things that they have learned to do, but need to share with other people because other people don't have the benefit of that experience. Um, I think it's gotten better. Object is one, and the I use the Temple wallet, and I did get into the Kukai wallet, and um, they were pretty easy to set up. But the first one I did was MetaMask, and I could have pulled my hair out for a while because I just couldn't. I'm like, "Why can't I figure this out? I'm a fairly intelligent person. I should be able to, put this together," and I just couldn't do it.
Absolutely. Now, did your experience with Temple and Kukai help you with MetaMask?
Well, I figured out MetaMask first, so I think
I
the
see.
the struggle with getting that one up and going was probably something that helped me, with the other ones. But there's a definite difference in how the platforms work and how the wallets are set up. Everyone has its own special little unique things that they do, and, whether it's to make it harder or potentially more difficult, I don't know. But
It's true. I think what it kind of cracked me up. This is I've been on computers since I practically was walking. But I'm thinking back, back to Windows 95 and DOS, ages ago, and I feel like the people that designed this stuff really, really love computers and being very secretive, in a way. And when they first designed it, it was very, it's not very user friendly because we've graduated into a world where everything is kind of user friendly, you know, almost to its detriment. And then we get, the MetaMask, and then it's like, what? And we went backwards a bit, but I think we're going forwards now, which is a really weird um, way to go. But yeah, I totally share that, that experience with you, where MetaMask was like, huh? You do what? And I made some mistakes at first. I didn't lose a lot of money, but I lost some. And some NFTs, of course, yay! But yeah, that was a interesting learning experience. But yeah, it's and nowadays, after you've gained this, the experience with Meta, I think, yeah, I do agree with you that it probably helped you a lot when you went to Temple. Going through all the pain with MetaMask, but now, is it like second nature to you? I mean, is it a lot easier to basically, if you wanted to jump on another blockchain, is it like, oh, I could do that, no problem?
Yeah, I don't really have worries about it. It's like, oh, I get the gist of what's happening. So for the most part, they're all basically similar. They just have little, you know, slight differences that aren't really noticeable. So they either work to your benefit or they don't. But it all depends, I guess, on how your mind works.
Absolutely, and your mind seems to focus on a lot of the little things.
It does, and, I got my first computer, it was a Mac, one of the first ones that they had put out. I came home with it, and my husband just about had a heart attack because I spent all this money, and that was, like, 31 years ago. So, I remember saying to him, "Oh, but, you don't understand. This is gonna be the thing. It's gonna be, the future, and we're gonna do everything on computers," and he's like, "I doubt that very much." And now he works on a computer almost every day, and he's an electrician, so it's amazing how the world has changed in 30 years' time, and, it seems like a long time, but it's really not. It just moves so quickly, and every year it's moving faster and faster, and technology is just advancing constantly. It's really crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that conversation between you and your husband. I had one of those maybe this morning. It's been uh, where we were talking about crypto and the Web3 and everything, and the market's turning around, and everything. Again, everything happens so quickly in today's world. We've actually, since I've been messing with crypto and blockchain and all this other stuff, it has changed. I don't even have a number. I can't even say a number of how many times it's changed, or what's, everything has gone so fast and so far since I first started. I mean, I remember when OpenSea was, barely anybody knew about it. I mean, nobody knew about it. And there were people buying NFTs, but not to this extent, for sure. And you couldn't even you had to do some special URL to do multiple copies. It was very strange. And yeah, I mean, it's come a long way from a few years ago, and that's the same conversation, right? As computers, like computers is going to, like I always laugh when you see the TV shows and they're like, yeah, computers are going to be the future, and then some guy reading a newspaper says, oh, the newspaper's never going to be, we're never going to get rid of this stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, here we are.
It's no different. I worked in banking for a long time, and, many, many years ago, I was a teller in a bank, and we got our first ATM machine, and, back there, it was a time machine. That's what they called it. Um, and I can't even tell you what the letters stood for, but the older people would come in the bank and they're like, "Oh, yeah, you put that thing out there. It's nobody's ever going to use that. Who wants their money out of a machine? They just come to the bank and they get their money." And I'm like, "But lots of people don't come to the bank because they work during the day, when the bank is open, and there's all these things happening, and no, that's never gonna happen. And now, we're getting money at the I don't know, the gas station, the Walmart, you go up to anywhere and they've got a little ATM machine that you can go and get cash out of whenever you need it. So, and we live off of a card now instead of writing out all these stupid checks and everything. And I, the only sure thing about life is that we will change and
Yeah,
how we live it will change constantly.
absolutely. And it sounds like when you bought that Mac, you were on the cutting edge, and now that you're jumping into the Web3 space, you're again on the cutting edge.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'm always curious. It drives my husband crazy. I know Tiba and I last night, we're trying out Discord for having some in-person meetings. And, we're obviously 13 hours apart in time. And he's waking up and he's just talking a mile a minute. And we're on there. And my husband comes in the house and he's like, "Oh God, you're talking to your internet friends again." And he's like, "I'm going to bed." And I'm like, they're real people. It's not like they're computer programs or something. And he's just like, "Whatever, whatever." And off he goes. But that's the typical attitude of somebody who's kind of a lagger, and yet he's the same person who, you know, dragged his feet on Facebook, and I set him up an account anyway, and now he's on Facebook like all the time. He's like, "Aren't you checking your Facebook?" It's like, "No, I'm barely ever on Facebook. Sorry, but I'll look. I'll check out what you sent me." So I'm always like, 10 miles ahead of the poor guy, and he's always like, "Oh, look at this. This is so cool." It's like, "Yeah, yeah, I think I told you about that, 5 years ago or so." You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank God he has you, because yeah, you get stuck in the past a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that cracks me up about Facebook. Yep. And honestly, I haven't looked at Facebook in well, I shouldn't say a long time. My family would get mad at me, but yeah, I haven't looked at Facebook in ages. Only because it's not really exciting. It's kind of the old thing, right?
Yeah.
We need something new. We need something exciting, and honestly, Twitter is kind of that. I mean, I had an account long ago and never touched it, and then I jumped back in with 0 followers and started from scratch, and here we are today. And I check it. I try not to check it as much as you know, but
Yeah.
hey, it's kind of where we are, though, right? So yeah, but yeah, I'm glad that you jumped on a Discord, because it is really fun uh, and exciting, and it is a nice way to chat. And we have people listening on Discord right now. I just want to shout out to them. We have quite the crowd there,
Ooh,
and they're chatting about what we're chatting about. So
nice.
yeah, so we're everywhere. We're kind of on YouTube. We're on Twitch. We're on uh, Discord. And we're even streaming live on Twitter right now. So it's pretty exciting.
Awesome.
But yeah, a couple more NFT type questions. So, what would you say the biggest challenge has been for you so far in the space? Because you've been here since you said November, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you've been
Mhm.
here since November. You've seen kind of this weird transition, and I always ask these questions because I have like the time frames of I like to do this make believe timeline, like BC or AD.
Yeah.
There's all these like events. There's like uh, the space before NBA Top Shots, and then there's the space after, and there's all kinds of these little like memorable events that have happened. So when you say November, that triggers something in my head. Okay, so we were kind of in this like very bullish market, and then you've gone from that to this transition where it's been a little bit slower, and then there was a couple bubbles here and there. What has been your thoughts like, and your biggest your biggest challenge so far being in the space?
Um, I don't I guess I don't look at things like that in the same way. Like, they're not all that challenging, in my opinion, but I'm not somebody who is trying to make a living at this point on NFTs or my art in general. I'm just creating a future life for myself, that I always tell my husband I'm gonna retire and I'm gonna be an artist and that's gonna be it. And he's like, okay, well, you keep at it and do your thing. It's like, so that's everything I aim for. I'm just constantly growing followers in order to get, you know, more uh, eyes on the work that I create. I keep creating and learning and um, especially learning in new platforms. And that includes in what people would call real life, right? Sharing my art in person and then sharing with galleries and working on all these little things to put them together. And a big part of that for me is creating community. And I have a community that I have. I want to say they're real life, but they're not. They're kind of a Facebook group, but we're not really on Facebook of artists who get together and talk about how to be successful with all the real life activities that you're doing in person and with your tangible art. And then on the flip side, I'm talking on Twitter about how to create the community and how to uh, create a stream of revenue and income from digital art. And how do we fit all that together, and how do we make sure that there's enough streams of revenue in order to sustain you for the future, because it's constantly changing, right? There's a flow to it, and the flow changes based on the economy or what's happening in the world or whatever it might be. There's always something. Um, and I'm pretty fortunate that I have a day job, right? I have a support system that I don't really have to worry about my bills, at least not right now. Knock on wood, that nothing happens with a recession or whatever that might affect me in some way, like it does so many other people. But I'm just focused on growing those things. So, you know, a challenge for me is community. I'm a fairly direct person and I don't always come across really well, but it's been pretty cool that I've been able to communicate so well. And uh, Twitter's given me the opportunity to have spaces. Every week I have a Friday space that I took over from Tiba. um, I'm participating with other spaces, and I really don't have fear in saying what I'm thinking, as I would in person, perhaps, because people get very sensitive and they kind of uh, back away because they think you're being negative towards them or you're picking on them or whatever it might be. And I don't see Twitter being quite as uh, I don't know. I don't have a good word for it. Uh, Picky about it. They want to hear what people have to say, and if they don't agree, they're going to tell you. And everybody seems to be okay with that for the most part. And there are a few people that aren't, but I find a lot of the spaces that aren't are probably not the right spaces for me. And there's always opportunity with other people and other groups that you can get involved with and have a lot of fun with it. So if we're having fun, odds are things are going to go more smoothly. You're more accepting when you're having fun. You're willing to learn more. You're willing to see other points of view. If you can laugh together, you can get through just about anything, especially if you can identify how you can connect. And I think that's something that we really learn a lot on Twitter, in particular, and now are spreading to all these Web3 platforms. That was a lot of information.
No, that was fantastic. That was a great answer. And yeah, absolutely. And that's I think I've sat in on a few spaces and that's something new. How are you liking that? How are you liking the hosting a Twitter space and talking through things and just being a bigger part of the community, I guess.
I enjoy it because I tend to focus more on um, how we can help people to grow and focus on things that are perhaps not on the negative side, but more on the positive side. And people talk a lot about toxic positivity, and I don't think you can be overly positive, but I tend to be more of a half glass full kind of person. I just think if there's something that's a struggle or something that is a negative happening in your life, there's always some kernel of good that comes out of it. And I that is the thing you should focus on because that's the thing you're supposed to get out of those hard times, and that's hard for people to see. So I tend to focus those spaces really on what I'm hearing people struggle with for the week or things that um, they're talking a lot about. So, it's usually a common theme. And every week as I listen to spaces, that theme seems to grow. And by Friday, I'm like, okay, we're going to talk about this and we're going to get people refocused so that they can have a better weekend and start off the week with something that's, not quite as heavy as it is. And there's enough heaviness to go around for everybody. So we need to really focus on those things where it can lighten the load a little bit and give us a little more focus to keep moving forward.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, that's fantastic, and I can't wait to hear more about the spaces, and join them too, because I think that we need more of that type of conversation. Honestly, in the space, it's not just about that let's go and we're all going to make it. We need to work through it, right?
Mhm.
If we're going to make it, we need to actually work through it. Sometimes there's more problems that need help with. We need help with, and having that crazy positivity sometimes can be too much. But the realistic, and taking and thinking through things and actually more that intelligent conversation is more of what we need. So yeah, I'm looking forward to going to more spaces because I've been to a couple, but I had to shove off because my real world job kind of took over lately.
Yeah, they get in the way, don't they?
They really do, and I hope one day that won't be an issue. I'm kind of in the same place as you, where it's not my full time to making art, but God, I wish it was. Oh man. So one question now. I'm having. It's been almost an hour. Geez, that went by really quickly. I don't know if you felt the same way, but it's always fun doing these things because, yeah, I get to learn so much. And Joanne, I mean, honestly, everything that we talked about has been fantastic. Um, I'm trying to get. I'm actually like doing dual things because I know we have some listeners waiting for the POAP, and I don't want anybody to be upset, but I just tried messing with it myself, and POAP is kind of rugging me right now.
Uh-oh.
So I'm trying to get that fixed. So bear with me, but I'll ask you another question as I quickly click around here. Now, do you have now keeping with this theme? I mean, you're obviously an amazing artist. I mean, you dive into a bunch of different mediums. You've been doing this for years. What advice can you give somebody who is struggling in the space or struggling with NFTs? I mean, you're kind of ingrained here now. So, what could you tell them that might help them?
Well, I guess what I always tell my kids is be the change you want to be in the world. And that seems like a big ask. And yet it, you can do the smallest of things and they can make a difference. So I tend to focus generally when I'm struggling on something. That is the thing that comes to me as the thing I need to focus on. So whatever it is, I try to make that difference. So often, when people are being difficult and whatever it is about it that has kind of pushed me to the edge of thinking in the back of my mind, God, I wish I didn't have to talk to this person. That item is probably the thing I need to work on. So I'll pick it apart in my head and figure out a way that I can approach it differently to change my view of it. How I can find something positive within there, that little kernel of something that can grow and make it not such a difficult thing. So people who are struggling, I guess, in the NFT space as a whole, I often they're really talking about, struggling with making a living from it or making sales. And I don't know if that's a realistic way, considering that this is the beginning of a brand new thing. We are really on the cutting edge of Web3 in general. And granted, it's a few years old, but it has a long way to go before it has acceptance and before there's a lot more collectors in the space. And when I say collectors, I mean everyday people who will go out and buy things. And that comes with understanding, and how do you get people to understand why this is a beneficial thing for them? What is it even? You're selling them some code, or God only knows what it might be that they think they're getting, right? So part of what I do is try to make fun of it, try to connect with people whom I have similar views with, to create that support network. And I have a few different groups that I do that with, and we are always, you know batting things back and forth. And I wouldn't say it's a group of people who are yes men. They all have different viewpoints. They all perceive things differently, but every time you talk to them, it widens your perception and it widens their perception. And that's kind of the interesting thing about people, right? We can always be something more than what we are. And we can focus on the negative, we can focus on the positive, or we can focus on somewhere in between. And I suggest that you focus somewhere in between, somewhere taking some of that negative and changing it up into how can I make it better? What can I do? Nobody sees my work. What can I do about it? Well, I can join spaces and I can talk to people and I can share my work, and I don't have to shill. I'm not a shiller. I don't often go into spaces and talk about my work at all, actually. I try to connect with people as a person. And maybe that's what they need to do. If you can connect with people as a real life person who has fears, who has things that make them happy, who has a family just like they do, your ability to connect with them is much simpler. And you know everybody's got somebody. Everybody has people, right? So there's always some common thread that you can work with people on, and some way to connect with them. And I would say, don't just be nice, be kind. Niceness is pretty passive. You can be nice to people and not mean it and at all. Whereas if you're actively being kind, you're sharing with them, your thoughts, your feelings, what you like about their work, what you kind of think, I don't quite understand about it. And those aren't bad things. Those are all really good things that you should be able to share with people. And if you're unable to do so, you're with the wrong people. Start looking for some new people. There's millions of them out there. They're just waiting for you.
Wow, that is sage advice, everybody. I hope you listened to that. That was fantastic. Thank you, Joanne. I while I was listening to all of that, I was here trying to talk it out with the POAP group. It's funny because the word that I chose for the secret word actually would have went very good with that conversation. Uh, but man, I just can't. I'm going to try it one more time and see. They keep telling me that it's fine, but it does not seem fine. So here's what we'll do. So I apologize, everybody listening. So we will get that POAP out at some point. So if you watch the Discord announcements, and I'll have it for the Twitter groups that we're in as well. So we'll do that. But yeah, they keep telling me it's fine. But yeah, and it's sad because it was like I first the big keyword was supposed to be like makes the biggest difference, right? Because you got it's the little things, right? And then I changed it because I thought It just said make a difference. But let's see. No, maybe audience, maybe you could try make a difference, all one word. If you get it, please let me know, because they say it's perfect. So I'm going to try to restart my app. A difference.
It'd be funny if it were just you, huh?
It would be. I would live with that. I would live with that. Maybe it is just me. That's what they're saying on there. So yeah, give it a try. You could either try, I'm going to post it in the chat. Let's see. There's make a difference, all one word. So it could be that. Yeah, not working. Yeah. Says no. I don't even think that was a word that was, but oh man, that's too bad. But yeah, we'll get it working. So don't worry, we will have it there for everybody. Maybe I'll just make links and send them to everybody. If you DM me, you can try this one. There's make the biggest difference. A guy by the name of Rune, I don't know if you know him, but he's making a joke asking if I need him to teach me how to do it. But the funny thing is I taught him how to do it. So yeah, leave it to ruin things. So yeah. But anyways, we'll get it out. Joanne, this has been fantastic. It's honestly, your work is fantastic. You're a fantastic person. I love having you on. We're going to have to do this again sometime, I hope.
Absolutely.
Is there anything that you want to leave our audience with? Do you have something coming up? Or something that you want them to see? Maybe a dream that you've been dreaming and you might make into art?
Well, I'm still working on that dream and ripping apart that AI art that I had printed, and I started burning the edges of it. So it's going to give it a little more flavor as I start pulling it all together. So yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. But I am posting some original artwork, and that'll be coming up, and we'll see how it goes.
Fantastic. And you know what's funny? I just figured out the problem.
Cool.
So I think that I can quickly press a button here and maybe it's going to work. Let's see. Make a difference. Let's try it. Hey, okay, everybody, it works. So the keyword, the secret word is make a difference. Make a difference. It was a bit longer and more meaningful, but I shortened it. So make a difference. I'm going to post it in the chats. There we go. So grab it. Joanne, if you want one, I can make you one. So no big deal. We'll get that to you.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Make a difference. Everybody go. Everyone's loving it. Okay. We're getting some, yeah, we got people getting it. So we're good. We've made it.
Great.
We did it. We
Success.
did it.
You made a difference. Look at that.
We did. Oh man, it's been great. Joanne, again, it's been great. And thank you everybody for tuning in. Please go on to Joanne's Twitter and follow her. I'll post it in the chats. Also, she has some amazing artwork out there. So if you're on Tezos, if you're on ETH, obviously, and anywhere that she's going to be, she sells prints too. It looks like on your website. Is that right?
Yes, I do.
So definitely go check those out, and also jump in those Twitter spaces when you see her on. I think that would be really fun for a lot of folks. Definitely do that. And Tiva's great. Shout out to Tiva. Fantastic. And we even have Ben who caught the end of the interview, so that's fantastic. But everybody, thank you again, and thank you, Joanne, and we will see everyone next time.
Thank you.
All right, bye everybody. I'm waving. I don't have any hands, but I'm waving.
I'll wait for you.
Thank you.